The excuses get old, though.
Touchdown! Holy help me, Hannah!
That's where we belong, is back at the top.
The sellout crowd, passionate fan base.
Either championship or bust here.
Tropical storms and hurricanes are given names, something to remember them by, beyond the path that they carve. For the last 19 years, it's been Tropical Storm Kurtiss and Hurricane Riggs that has been the face of indoor football in Sioux Falls. More specifically, four-time Coach of the Year and IFL Hall of Famer Kurtiss Riggs. Under Riggs' leadership, the Storm have won 11 championships. But don't expect to see Coach Riggs wearing his rings anytime soon.
All the championship rings we have, I never wear those. Rarely do I even, the case that has them all, I don't even showcase that. Now, it's in my office now, but for the longest time, it was being passed around somewhere.
Coach Riggs has always emphasized the hard work behind the hardware. Having recently announced this season would be his last, Riggs hopes the culture he helped create will be his legacy with the Storm.
But that blue-collar mentality, really wanting to do that work yourself, not expecting others to have everything done for you. You're going to get it done yourself. And you'll see a lot of these players that show up for the reunion. I mean, that's what they still live by today. And guys that you can see they're successful in life because they use that same motto.
After an up-and-down season, the Storm find themselves in a unique position, having qualified for the playoffs, and with a victory in the last game of the year, a chance to host a playoff game as the number 2 seed. Yes, everything seems to be falling into place for the Storm.
It's kind of crazy. I was coming down to the last week of the season. All the hard work, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of the season, but at the end of the day, we're right where we want to be.
And we've had a lot of ups and downs. We've been, hovering around 500, but we have the talent in place that we can make a run.
I feel like this year it's like somehow if we win this week, we have a shot to host a playoff game. I hope we're able to take advantage of that.
Standing in their way, the Pirates, a team the Storm has never beaten. A physical group known for putting the mass in Massachusetts.
I'm glad I'm on the offensive side because their offensive line is 3 really massive human beings that, 2 of them started in the SEC. Their nose guard played at Georgia, so that's one guy that we're already trying to figure out how we can get after him.
Defensive coordinator Andre Fields knows the Storm will need to play a shifty style to avoid getting overwhelmed by the Pirates' aggressive approach.
If they get their hands on us, they're probably gonna, have their way with us a little bit. So we want to make sure that we minimize that, or at least minimize how much they push us around. So we'll move a lot defensively to try to keep them at bay, but it's something that you just got to face. These guys come in all shapes and sizes up front on the offensive and defensive lines, so you got to be ready to deal with it.
Leading up to the big game, offensive coordinator Peyton Riggs returned to a tradition of his father's to help lighten the mood and loosen up the guys.
Yeah, it's something that Kurtiss was doing, for a while, and I made a comment a couple weeks into the season, where are the pictures at, Peyton? And he's like, oh, we'll get to that.
So one thing my dad used to do in years past was in the scouting report, he'd always take a movie cover and Photoshop some of the guys' faces on and make it kind of funny. And I hadn't been doing that just because I've been so worried about winning. I kind of felt like we were losing that fun aspect, and so I brought that back. And the first one I did was I put Lorenzo and Lawrence on Step Brothers. Then the next one, Nick Roos, Lawrence Edwards, are 2 offensive linemen, and Nick drives a Fiat.
Yes, that Fiat is a real thing. And what's even funnier is it's brown, and Nick Roos is the one that drives it. He owns it. And he's a big Star Wars fan, so he's got a big Chewbacca sticker right on the back window. It's honestly like a clown car when they get out of it. I've seen 4 guys get out of it at one time. I don't know how they fit in that thing, but it's pretty funny watching them drive it around.
It's kind of, I don't know how they do it, especially Nick Roos. Nick is, 6'7", 3-something, and then Lawrence Edwards is another, 6'5", 6'6" guy. And when I first saw them, I was, leaving on the interstate when they got to the field house, and I looked to my left, and I'm like, is that Nick and Lawrence in there? And then look in the back seat, you got little Bryson Denley all tucked up, the knees out to his chest in the back. So it was crazy. He said it's really comfortable for him. He looked at 10 plus cars the day he got that, and good on gas. So to each his own, I guess.
Regardless of how they fit in there, one thing was for certain. That brown Fiat would be parked at the Denny on Saturday night as the Storm prepared to put everything on the line in their biggest game of the season. Adding to the excitement, it was Alumni Night, with over 40 former players returning to support the Storm and Coach Riggs in his last regular season home game.
I hope it's kind of brings back memories on what it used to be. A lot of the diehard Storm fans get a chance to see their favorite players of past times show up, especially with Coach Riggs' last home game, 20-year career that he had. You can't think about Sioux Falls Storm without thinking about Kurtiss Riggs, and I hope the fans appreciate what they've had the last 20 years.
Just bringing back a bunch of old faces, and hopefully the guys that we have now can see what it means to the alumni too, of what they built and the fact that they still pay attention to it even after football.
I think seeing the guys up there, it brings a lot of memories, it brings a lot of smiles, brings a lot of laughs. They're all ones that you can celebrate, and you can share all the things, the frustrations, the excitement. That's what made it great. And that's one of those things that you walk away with is those relationships were the ones that were very special.
Coach Riggs has been the only coach that I've known here as a head coach for the Storm. And so he is the face of the organization, has been for a long time. Obviously, you look at the success that we've had as an organization, it all, falls back to him and his leadership. So I do think it's going to be maybe somewhat emotional for him. He'll definitely try to deflect and try to hold it off, but I think he'll feel it. He'll feel the love. He'll probably have some emotion, even though he wants to try to push it off and hold it back. I don't know if he'll be able to. It might come out anyway. But I think deep down inside, yeah, he will soak it all in. I mean, he's been doing that kind of all year. He'll experience all of those emotions, and hopefully the best emotion of all would be just us having a really big win in front of that crowd in his last game, knowing that when he thinks about it, down the line, he'll know that we won one going out.
Yeah, it's a big game too. We're playing for home field advantage come playoffs, so I'm hoping we have a huge crowd and we play well.
As part of the Alumni Night festivities, linebacker Tyler Knight and kicker Parker Douglas would be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Quarterback Lorenzo Brown is known for playing his best football when it matters most, and tonight he'd hold nothing back, having recently announced he too would be retiring at the end of the season. Brown did not disappoint, painting a Picasso, throwing for 7 scores in his most complete game of the year. Running back Xavier Jackson would return from injury, chipping in a pair of key rushing and receiving touchdowns. But despite all that offense, the game wasn't over until Donnie Corley stole the Pirates' booty once and for all, making a circus catch with 11 seconds in regulation, earning the Storm a dramatic 62-59 win. But in the end, this night was about the face of the franchise and the man who's had his name on the Storm these last 19 seasons, Kurtiss Riggs. The Storm's very own silver lining. Kurtiss Riggs, a name no one is going to forget around here for quite some time.